Today, we're going to talk about Alastor, who is by far my favorite character in the Hazbin Hotel series so far, with his little scene at the end of the episode making him even more complexly interesting. My name is Impcut. Let's talk about Alastor's true motives in working at the hotel and getting out of his deal. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I say forget because I'm well aware that you were going to subscribe, so don't pretend like you weren't going to just to be contrarian. Alastor was presented in the Hazbin Hotel pilot as someone who took an interest in Charlie's hotel because he thought it would be amusing to see people attempt redemption only to end up failing. However, in episode 5, Husk revealed that Alastor is on a leash, just like he was, indicating that Alastor had traded his soul to someone else the way that Husk had sold his soul to Alastor. In the final episode of the season, Alastor almost dies at the hands of Adam, but he teleports away just at the right moment. He stays out of the rest of the battle, perhaps having less power without his radio mic, which Adam had destroyed. While the others are dealing with the aftermath of their victory, however, we see Alastor creeping into his radio tower where he begins to sing about the unhinged state he is in. Alastor is smiling in this scene, but he is clearly distressed, almost having lost his own life, and despite his cool composure in battle, having his eternal existence ended is something he truly fears. Alastor can give the impression that he cares about very little, and that even his own life might be seen as worth ending for the right cause, but underneath his creepy smile is a man afraid of losing his life. In this musical bit, Alastor sings about how he only came so close to losing his life because of some constraints of the deal he made for his soul, insisting there must be a back door to get out of it, and that when he does find a way to get out, he'll be the one pulling all the strings. Alastor's dress smile is interesting because, as he likes to quote, "You are never truly dressed without one." Just one episode earlier, Charlie had accused Alastor of enjoying her suffering because he wore a smile while talking to her about the problems she had created. But Alastor insisted that just because someone is smiling doesn't mean they are actually happy, alluding to the deep stress he is feeling at being caught in his soul deal. Alastor smiling like this in such an unhinged way made for probably the most iconic scene after the battle ended, and really set up his story for season 2. While the hotel crew are worried that Alastor may have died in the battle against Adam, he appears during their montage at the end to show them that he is okay, and even puts on a big smile to hide the crazy stress he was feeling earlier. Alastor seems unable to actually leave the hotel as part of his soul deal, with him referring to himself as Alastor Altruist because of how he almost lost his life defending them. So what exactly was the nature of Alastor's soul deal? Each soul deal can be very different apparently, and does not have to be a deal for your soul outright. I'll have a dedicated video on the subject in the next week or so, but for this video, the important references are in Husk and Angel. Husk's soul deal is vague. We don't know exactly what Husk owes Alastor, and it seems like he is just owned by Alastor entirely. A full deal for his soul, I imagine. Angel, meanwhile, has explained some of the nuance of his soul deal. We don't know what Angel gets out of the arrangement with Valentino, but according to him, Valentino only owns him inside the studio, with their arrangement giving Valentino little or no power outside of a business setting. This can be outside of the literal studio as long as they are working, it seems, such as when he forces Angel to work the street corners. But there's enough nuance in their contract that Angel can defy and even offend Valentino while out in public and not on the clock. Similarly, Charlie made a deal with Alastor in episode 7, one that was not for her soul, but based on the power of the handshake, it was still a soul deal, meaning Charlie is obligated to do this one favor for Alastor as long as it's not harming someone. Alastor likewise probably made a very specific deal. After his battle with Vox, Alastor disappeared, and I imagine that their conflict led to him needing more power, and, like Husk, he became desperate enough to make a deal for his own soul. Considering Alastor was able to so clearly screw with Lucifer at the hotel, it's very clearly not him that Alastor made the deal with, and there are very few people who would send Alastor to either help Charlie or sabotage her. The craziest take would be that it was someone from Charlie's past, the only person we really know of being Sophiathan von Eldridge. In the Hazbin Hotel pilot, he appears along with his sister and parents in numerous photos around the hotel with Charlie's family. In early live streams, they were said to be close family friends, with Charlie even dating Sophiathan for a short time, though it was apparently not a great relationship. While those photos aren't in the hotel in the series proper, we do see what looks like Sophiathan's father in a photo with Lucifer in his home before he goes to visit Charlie, indicating the family might still factor in the show in some way, perhaps even through Alastor, though I don't think that's very likely. The most realistic answer to me is that Alastor made a deal with Lilith. Lilith disappeared 7 years ago at the same time as Alastor, and she could probably provide a very particular deal to Alastor that would make him feel safe in promising his help to Lilith. If Lilith was running off to heaven, then she might want a powerful figure in hell who can do her bidding for her in case anything happened, like her daughter trying to start a rehabilitation center to get people into heaven. Lute even insists that Lilith go down there and stop the project herself in the season finale, and it would make sense that she was already trying to sabotage it from heaven. Alastor is seen watching Charlie's news broadcast early in the pilot, but doesn't appear there until Charlie calls her mother, leaving a message, with Alastor seemingly teleporting just after Charlie walks back inside the hotel after hanging up the phone. Lilith may have restored a lot of Alastor's power with a promise that he does one favor for her at some point, the same way Alastor made that deal with Charlie. When Lilith called this favor in, it would be to sabotage the hotel while pretending to help it. And thus, Alastor would construct his lie that he's there to help while amusing himself at everyone else's inevitable failure. Because of how vaguely worded such a deal likely is, Alastor is constantly trying to find a sort of back door, an exit out of the deal, and making a deal with Charlie was likely an important part of that. I don't think Alastor even knows what favor he will call in with Charlie yet, likely just knowing that any vague favor in the future will eventually be useful to him. This could be saved until the series finale, but I very much believe Season 2 will have this deal returning to haunt Charlie, as Alastor makes her do something that is clearly dangerous without directly harming people. That being said, if it is Lilith who has the deal with Alastor, it may even just come down to him asking Charlie to get him out of the deal with her mother in some way. Regardless of how he gets out of his deal though, afterwards he would still have his place at the hotel secured for him. He has a big interest in earning Charlie's love even beyond what his deal seems to require for him, going into battle with Lucifer to try and make himself out to be the better father figure to her. Once Alastor gets out of this deal, he probably wants to maintain this dynamic with Charlie, knowing that he can use her power not just to defeat Vox and the other Vs for good, but to control perhaps all of hell through her eventually. Of course, after Lilith, there is also the possibility that Alastor has sold his soul to none other than Rue. Rue is a character we know very little about, with almost everything about them coming from behind-the-scenes information that helps inform certain visuals in the show. Rue appeared most famously in a tweet from VivziePop just days before the Hazbin Hotel pilot aired back in 2019, with VivziePop saying she is a looming threat that the Hazbin Hotel crew will have to face somewhere down the road. She has a crazy Eldritch-looking design, hinting at her possibly being an entity much older and more powerful than the average character. Some fans were quick to notice that the crisscrossing dark tongues look rather similar to the visuals of evil creeping into the earth after Lucifer gave Eve the forbidden fruit of knowledge in episode 1. Some fans have speculated that Rue is short for Root of Evil, and that this character is the evil that infected the Earth from Lucifer's choice. There will be more on the deeper possibilities of Rue in an upcoming video, but for this video, the important thing to note is that Alastor's shadow magic has a similar pattern and design to the visual surrounding Rue and her branching tongues, particularly when Alastor is fighting Adam. Alastor may be so powerful to begin with because he made a deal with Rue while on Earth perhaps, or early on when he made it to Hell, but for more information about Rue, subscribe because I've been planning a bigger video on that for a while now that you won't want to miss. And if you want something else to watch, check out the review I did for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Even if you haven't seen that or are not in the fandom, you'll probably enjoy how it uses the characters to dissect the unhealthy and toxic aspects of fandoms. Or check out the Sonic the Hedgehog vs. Mario parody that we animated as well. See you guys there.